Global trade, once a well-oiled machine, has ground to a halt, triggered by a single policy change in Washington. On September 9, 2025, the U.S. redrew the global economic map overnight. Nations that once shipped eagerly to America are now refusing to send goods. Ports are quiet, supply chains are severed. This isn't a gradual shift, it's a sudden, sharp rejection of American trade policy. The backlash has left the U.S. isolated in a world it once led. The decision, meant to protect American industries, has instead sparked a new kind of trade war outright refusal. Countries are simply opting out of the American market, finding the cost of entry too high. Washington is caught off guard, unprepared for how quickly the world can move on. For decades, the U.S. was the world's top consumer market. Now, that dominance is crumbling. International logistics companies are rerouting fleets, and foreign manufacturers are canceling U.S.-bound orders. The global marketplace is reconfiguring in real time, often bypassing the U.S. entirely. This is more than an economic dispute, it's a fundamental realignment of global power. By changing the rules, the U.S. has forced partners to find new pathways, and they're doing it fast. The shock is immediate for American homes and businesses, but the long-term consequences are even greater. This moment marks when the world decided it no longer needed to play by America's rules. The era of U.S. economic dominance is facing its greatest challenge yet. The world is learning to operate without America at its center. The assumption of American invincibility is gone. The U.S. is now on the outside, looking in. The foundation of global commerce is shifting beneath our feet. At the heart of this crisis is the de minimis rule. For years, packages under $800 entered the U.S. duty-free, fueling e-commerce and small business imports. The rule made global shopping fast and affordable for Americans. Its removal was meant to level the playing field for U.S. retailers, targeting foreign giants like Shein and Temu. But the policy overlooked the millions of small businesses and consumers who relied on frictionless, low-value trade. Suddenly, every package, no matter how small, required full customs clearance, paperwork, and fees. Shipping carriers and postal services built for speed were overwhelmed overnight. The cost and labor made shipping to the U.S. unviable. The global shipping network broke down. The U.S. had built an invisible wall around its borders, hitting everyone from multinationals to artisans. Packages faced weeks in customs, unexpected fees, or outright rejection. International sellers and logistics providers made a simple choice: stop shipping to the U.S. The shutdown wasn't a conspiracy, it was a rational business decision. The policy's blunt force crippled the very system it aimed to fix. America's attempt to protect itself triggered a global trade meltdown. American consumers felt the impact first. Overnight, the endless digital marketplace vanished. Products that were a click away are now unavailable or come with error messages. We no longer ship to your location. Scarcity and frustration have replaced variety and affordability. Small businesses, once thriving on global imports, are now cut off from their suppliers. Many can't restock and face collapse. Warehouses are quiet, delivery routes have shrunk, and the entire logistics ecosystem is in turmoil. The commercial infrastructure that supported a significant part of the U.S. economy is breaking down. Prices are soaring, not from demand, but from a self-inflicted supply shock. Goods that make it through customs are far more expensive, with added tariffs and fees passed to consumers. A $50 product now costs $75, if it's available at all. American families are paying more for less. The policy meant to help industry is crushing innovation and small business. The ripple effect touches everyone, from retailers to tech platforms. This is not just inflation, it's a fundamental breakdown. Household budgets are squeezed, and the promise of e-commerce is broken. The world's response to America's trade decision was swift disengagement, not negotiation. National postal services across Europe, Asia, and beyond suspended shipments to the U.S., unable to handle the new customs burden. The message: if the U.S. doesn't want their goods, they'll stop sending them. U.S. allies are now helping their exporters pivot away from America, funding new trade initiatives and seeking customers elsewhere. Trade missions target emerging markets, and investments flow into logistics that bypass the U.S. America's closest friends are building a global trade network less reliant on U.S. consumers. Nations are forming new trade blocs and standards, creating alternative corridors. China accelerates its Belt and Road Initiative, offering a stable alternative to the protectionist West. The world is building a future without America at its center. The U.S. is now a victim of its own success. Others have learned to trade without it. The expertise and infrastructure built for America are now fueling trade elsewhere. The global response is a quiet but firm vote of no confidence in U.S. leadership. The world is moving on. The policy aimed to weaken foreign competitors, especially China. In the short term, shipments from Chinese platforms to the U.S. plummeted. But the real outcome? America's rivals are growing stronger and more globally integrated. Chinese companies are expanding into Europe, Latin America, and the Middle East, capturing market share once held by U.S. firms. Brazil and Canada are deepening trade ties with Asia and Europe, building new bridges as America isolates itself. China now positions itself as the champion of global free trade, filling the vacuum left by the U.S. The policy has backfired, accelerating the shift in global power it was meant to prevent. Innovation is booming outside the U.S. Regional warehousing, new payment systems, and AI-driven logistics are taking off. American businesses, meanwhile, are stuck with broken supply chains. The U.S. is falling behind in both trade and innovation. The attempt to protect American industry has left it more vulnerable than ever. Rivals are seizing the future. As the year ends, the trade disaster hits home for American families. The holiday season, once defined by abundance, now faces scarcity and soaring prices. Toys, gadgets, and decorations are stuck in limbo or priced out of reach. Families face tough choices: cut back, go into debt, or forego traditions. The joy of the holidays is replaced by anxiety and financial stress. Small businesses, reliant on holiday sales and unique imports, are left with empty shelves and angry customers. Many won't survive the season. The policy meant to protect Main Street is delivering a fatal blow instead. The disconnect between policymakers and real-world consequences is stark. The festive season of 2025 will be remembered for empty shelves and high prices. America's self-inflicted isolation is impossible to ignore. The chaos of the trade shutdown is settling into a new global order, one that leaves the U.S. on the sidelines. New Silk Roads and trade corridors are connecting Asia, Latin America, Africa, and Europe, bypassing America. Governments are signing regional deals, lowering tariffs, and standardizing customs, making it easier to trade with each other than with the U.S. Multinational companies are building factories and distribution centers for non-American markets. New logistics and e-commerce platforms are emerging for this new map. America's economic power, once rooted in its centrality, is fading. The U.S. dollar's dominance and the leverage of American ports are eroding. The world is learning to trade without America, and that leverage is disappearing. Once new supply chains and relationships are built, they won't be easily undone. Even if Washington reverses course, the world has moved on. The trust is broken. America risks becoming an isolated economic island. The global center of gravity has shifted. The de minimis story is about more than trade. It's about America's changing place in the world. The attempt to assert strength has exposed vulnerability. The world is more resilient and adaptable than Washington believed. The future is multipolar, with the U.S. as just one major player among many. America must now negotiate, compromise, and compete in ways it hasn't for decades. The era of unquestioned American primacy is over, ended by its own hand. Americans must adjust to higher costs, fewer choices, and a new global reality. The path forward demands humility and a renewed commitment to global partnership. Protectionism has failed. The world can adapt to America's absence. The urgent question: can America adapt to a world that no longer waits for its leadership? The choices made now will determine if the U.S. is an architect of the new order or just a spectator.